We talked about the call option valuation, how to value, what the factors are that affect the value of a call option and so on. Okay? So let's talk about one other or some other similar derivatives. Okay, the first one here today is convertible security. Okay? For example, convertible bond or convertible preferred stock. Okay? And these items, when they are issued, okay, they come with convertible feature. Okay, which means it will say the indenture will say at some point in time, if you want, okay, you can convert these long-term securities, either bond or preferred stocks, into common stock. Okay? And it will specify some periods, right? Time periods during which you can convert, right, or exercise this conversion right. Okay? And also the conversion price, right? And so on, right? Some details. Okay? All right. So why would they do this? Why would they issue convertible securities when they issue this long-term debt? Okay? First one is to reduce agency costs. We talked about agency costs many times. Okay? We're talking about the conflict of interest between bondholders and stockholders. Okay? So, depending on the situation, well, in this particular situation, we're saying bondholders are principals. Okay? They are the ones who lent their money, invested their money, right? And the stockholders, in other words, the owners, okay? Owners are supposed to take care of the principal's interest, okay? Bondholders' interest. Okay? So they are supposed to do everything possible to, make money and ensure that they are able to pay back the interest and principal okay? To the bondholders. Okay? But the owners may have different objective, right? Their objective is, of course, maximizing profit, okay? Maximizing shareholder wealth, okay? And for that purpose, they may engage themselves in some risky projects, okay? Which doesn't help bondholders. Bondholders only receive interest payment and their principal back, right? Whether the company really maximizes profit or not doesn't matter to bondholders, right? So there can be some the costs involved or emanating from that conflict of interest. For example, bondholders want to make sure that these stockholders do not engage themselves in too much risk, right? So they may increase their monitoring and supervising, all kinds of restrictions, right? When the company wants to get into some business, right? Bondholders may prevent, okay, in their indenture, right? Prevent all kinds of activities, right? So if you can somehow match or bring these two interests together or closer together, right? Then you can reduce this kind of agency cost, right? So by giving an option to bondholders to convert their loans into shares, right? The profit sharing, for example, right? Converting the debt into the stocks, which means they can share the profit of the company, right? You can reduce the agency costs. Okay, that's the purpose. I guess one of the primary purpose. Okay, and also that's going to lower interest payments or dividends. We're talking about dividend on preferred stock. Okay, so when the bondholders or preferred stockholders when they know that they can share the profit of the company, they may be willing to accept a little lower interest payments on their loan, okay, or a little lower dividend on their preferred stock. Okay? So by including this convertible feature in the indenture, right, the company can actually offer a little lower interest, okay, or a little lower dividend on preferred stock. Okay? Typically, about 3%, they say. Right? Convertible bonds offer about 3% on average, okay? Low interest compared to non-convertible bonds. Okay? Another advantage of issuing convertible security, convertible bond, is in essence, they are selling their common stock at the price which is higher than the price when the bond is issued. Okay? So today, let's say this company is trying to issue the bond. Okay? In other words, they're trying to borrow more money, right? And currently, their share price is $30. Okay? But in the indenture for the bond, they may say the conversion price is $35. So at some point in the future, they say 5 years later, between 5 years and 7 years from now, right, you can convert this bond. Let's say par value of the bond is $1,000. Okay? At $35 a share. Okay? So what that means is if you divide 1,000 by 35, okay, then let's make it simple, 40. Okay? Yeah, okay, so current price is 30, but say conversion price specified in the indenture is 40, right? And that means you can basically receive 25 shares, right, for each bond that you hold, right? Does it make sense? Okay? So that's the idea of the conversion ratio, right? Par value divided by conversion price, okay, as 25, right? That's the conversion ratio, right? But in effect, what the company is doing is, okay, right now, if we want to sell the stocks, right, we can only receive $30 per share, right? But by including the conversion feature and setting the conversion price at $40, in effect, we are setting the future stock price to $40 a share, right? So when the bond is actually converted into stocks, right, then in effect, the company is charging $40 a share, right? That's what this means. Sell common stock at a higher price than the prevailing market price at the time of issue. Okay? Another benefit is it allows time for investments to pay benefits. Right? What does that mean? Right? Company borrows money right now by selling bonds, right? And they're going to invest this money and make profit, right? And until this conversion is exercised, until the bondholder actually converts their bond into shares, they don't have to pay dividend, right? So if the conversion period is 5 years away, right, basically the company can use this money to make profit, and they don't have to share their profit for 5 years. Well, of course, they have to pay interest on the bond, right? But they don't have to pay any dividend, right? That's what this means. Allows time for investments to pay benefit. Okay, so typical conversion price, this conversion price, typical conversion price is about 15 to 30% higher than the current market price, prevailing market price. Okay? All right. So what about the valuation? How do you value or assess the value of the convertible securities? We can think about three different concepts. Okay? First of all, conversion value. Sorry, let me turn down this heat. I have this scratchy throat still. And now lens is giving the problem. All this dry, hot air really bothers me. So the conversion value is simply the stock price times the conversion ratio, right? So in this example, conversion ratio is 25, right? So when the time comes, you're going to be able to convert your bond into the common stocks at that time, right? So what's the market price at that time, right? Even though conversion price is $40, right? Since you are holding the bond, right? You are guaranteed to receive 25 shares for each bond you are holding, right? The question is, what is the market price of the shares at that time, right? If the market price is $50, okay, then 50 times 25 will be what? 1,250, right? So conversion value will be 1,250, okay? Market price of shares times conversion ratio, right? And then there is a straight bond value. Okay? Straight bond value, well, you've seen that formula 1,000 times by now, right? That's the present value of the bond. Okay? So the interest payment and principal, which is par value, of course, and then the discount rate, KD, right? And the N, number of periods remaining, right? So depending on these four values, right, you can calculate the present value of the bond. Okay? That's what we call straight bond value. Okay? And then finally, there is a market value. So what is it exactly, right? I mean, when you have this convertible bond, right? Convertible bonds can be traded in the market, right? And what's the current market price of this convertible security, convertible bond, actually, right? It says a higher of conversion or straight bond value plus conversion premium. Yeah, you have to understand this. You have to give me about 1 minute, right, to explain this, right? But market value is simply market value, right? What you have to pay to purchase this convertible bond in the market, right? All right. Here's the chart. Here's the thing. All right. So based on, okay, let me give you all the numbers here. In the textbook example, in the chapter, there is a company called ARI, okay? And the conversion price is set to $84. Conversion price. Okay? So when the bondholder wants to convert their bond into the share, right? The exercise price is $84. Okay? Share price, I guess this doesn't matter. Yeah. think I have it wrong here. The share price at the time of conversion is $65. Okay, so the conversion ratio what is the conversion ratio in this situation? Conversion ratio is par value divided by conversion price, right? So that's 1,000 divided by 84 comes out to be 11.9, right? Straight bond value is summation of 6125. Apparently, the coupon rate was 6.125, 6 1/8. Okay, in the old days, I mean these days the stock price and bond price are quoted in fraction like 0.125, right? But in the old days, they say 6 1/8, 6 3/8. You know, they use this eighth, right? So 1/8 is 0.125, right? So this is 6.125. Right? Apparently, they offer the 6 1/8 as a coupon rate, right? So the coupon payment, interest payment, is $61.25, right? 1,000 times 0.06125. Right? That's how 6125 came around. Is that right? Yeah, 61.25. Okay? All right, so that's the interest payment, okay? And apparently the interest rate is 9%, right? Plus par value, of course, is 1,000, 1.09, and this is a 25-year remaining. Okay. So that came around $718 as a straight bond value. Okay. What conversion value? Is the current stock price 65 times the conversion ratio, 11.9, comes out to be 774. Okay? I think that's all the numbers that you need, right? Okay. So here, if you look at this chart, on the horizontal axis we have stock price. On the vertical axis we have dollar value. Okay? And so the straight bond value, 718. Look at the 718. We got straight bond value of 718, right? That's right here, about a little above 700 here, right? So straight bond value, right? And it has nothing to do with the stock price. Doesn't depend on stock price, right? So that's a horizontal line here, right? And then we have this blue line. Blue line is a conversion or stock value. Okay? Conversion value depends on the stock price, right? Conversion value depends on current stock price, right? So as the stock price increases, conversion value increases, right? And when the current stock price is $65, right? At $65, we find out that the conversion value is 774. Okay? What about this crossing? Can you find that crossing point? What will be, well, of course, the Y value, at this point, Y value is 718, right? What about X value? Can you find X value? In other words, at which stock price the conversion value will be 718? How can you calculate that? If the conversion value is 718, okay, yeah, 718. Conversion ratio is 11.9. You can calculate that, right? Yeah? Using this concept, right? So that will be, looks like that's a little above $60 something, right? You can just divide 718 by 11.9, right? Okay, so that's this crossing point, right? So we have straight bond value 718, right? And then we have conversion value, which is positively related to the stock price, right? So we have two separate values, right? And then we have market value. This red curve is a market value, right? And theoretically, market value is above the conversion value or straight bond value. Actually, it is above the larger one between the conversion value and straight bond value. In other words, here, when the straight bond value is greater than the conversion value, market value is above the straight bond value. And the difference between the two is called the conversion premium. Because when let's say currently stock price is only $55, right? Then when you calculate the conversion value, it comes out something like about $630, only $630, right? But if you sell this convertible security in the market, what are you going to get, right? Do you understand? If you currently, right now, the stock price of this company is only $55, right? So if you multiply 11.9 to 55, you get only about 600 something, 630, right? But if you put this convertible bond in the market, you're going to get a little more than that. Why? Because of this calculation. Present value of this bond is $718, right? It has nothing to do with the stock price. It only has to do with the coupon rate and the current discount rate and number of years remaining, right? So theoretically, ideally, right, the actual value of this convertible bond should be like this one and this one, right? So if you have blue and I don't have green. Yeah. If it goes like that, right, then up to this stock price, right, the market value has to be this, and starting from this point, the market value has to be this, follow this blue line, right? Theoretically. So to the left of, let's say that's P star. That's a stock price, right? Stock price. Okay. When the stock price is below P star, right, then if you sell this bond in the market, you should receive the straight bond value, right, based on this calculation, right? But when the stock price goes above the P star, right, then you should receive this conversion value, okay, this conversion value. Okay? But in reality, what the chart is showing is, in reality, the market value is slightly above that straight bond value and a conversion value. Right? Why? Can you think of why? Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Because you have an option. Flexibility. Right? Why the value of convertible security is a little bit higher than the actual theoretical calculation, right? Because you have an option. Either you can keep it as a bond if you want. You don't have to convert. That's an option, right? So depending on the situation, you can just keep it as a bond and just keep receiving the interest payment. And when the maturity comes, you can receive the par value back. It's up to you, right? Or if you think that converting it into the stock is more advantageous, you can do so, right? So there is some value in that option, flexibility, right? Okay? So market rewards that kind of flexibility, choice, okay? And there has to be some premium. So the difference between this theoretical value and actual market value, that difference is called the market premium, or conversion premium. Okay? Let me ask you another question. Suppose, let's say P star here is, say, $600, $40. $64. Okay? And right now, the stock price is $60. And the conversion period has arrived. So within next year or so, you have to decide whether you're going to convert it or not. Okay? After 1 year, when the conversion period expires, then you cannot convert it, right? But the current stock price is only $60. Okay? So if you calculate the conversion price, conversion value is a little bit lower than the straight bond value. Would you convert? If based on the current stock price, conversion value is a little bit lower than the straight bond value, would you convert or would you keep it as a bond? Okay, well, expectation on what? Future stock price, right? If you think the stock price is gonna go up in the future, right? Then you will convert, of course, right? If you don't, then if you think that the company's business is not good, right? So there's a little chance that stock price will actually appreciate, right? In that case, you might as well just keep it as a bond and just keep receiving the interest payment, right? That's the idea, right? So you have to understand, that's why this distance the conversion premium is the greatest when the stock price, when the conversion price is equal to the straight bond price, straight bond value. Okay? If stock price is really low, like $40, okay, then it's pretty simple. I mean, there is no option or choice, right? If stock price is really low, then obviously the company is not doing very well, right? And there is no possibility of consideration of conversion, right? So that option is really worthless, right? Even though you're holding the convertibility option, in reality, there is no chance that you will convert, right? So you might as well just use it as a bond, right? So in the market, investors view, right, that option is just worthless, right? So the market price will be pretty close to the straight bond value, right? If the stock price is really high, then the opposite situation, right? There's no question about it, right? You have to convert it, right? If you hold it like as a bond, you are losing a lot of money, right? So again, that option is useless. So clear, right? So the option, whether you will convert or not, right? That option is the most valuable when you have this choice. When the choice is valuable, right? Depending on your estimation, your judgment, okay? Whether you're going to convert it or not, right? And this convertibility gives you that option when this conversion value is close to straight bond value. Okay? Right? So that's why the market value will look like that. Okay? That red curve. Okay? I think that's all you need to understand based from this chart. Okay? Any question about this chart? Okay. If the conversion period expires, then there will be no premium, right? Okay. So conversion can occur voluntarily, or it can be forced. How can the company force the conversion? Well, by calling the bond. Okay? So, obviously, I mean, it implies that when the company issued this convertible bond, they also put the call feature, right? So if the bondholders do not convert them voluntarily, then they can call the bond, okay, at lower price than the conversion value, right? Then the investors who can crunch the number, right, they will convert. Okay? Why would the company do that? What's the benefit of forcing the conversion? Yeah. Well, that allows the company to remove the long-term debt without using cash to redeem it. Right? So if the bondholders convert their bond into stocks, right, then the company doesn't have to pay it back. In other words, they're from their balance sheet, right? Suddenly, a huge amount of their debt disappears. Right? Does it make sense? Right? Even though now the number of shares increased, right? So there is a problem of dilution, right? And that means you're sharing your profit with more owners, okay? But at least you can remove the debt without paying any cash, right? That's the benefit of the conversion, right? So that's why the company would force the conversion by calling the bond. Yeah. Okay. Companies are required to disclose the potential dilution by reporting both primary EPS. Primary EPS means it's an EPS based on current outstanding number of shares, number of outstanding shares. Okay? Fully diluted EPS means it is when an EPS is calculated, they consider all potential number of issues, right? So when all the convertible securities are converted into stocks, right? What will be the total number of shares, right? And you use that number to calculate the fully diluted EPS. Yeah? And you have to specify, you have to reveal, right? Both numbers in the your report, right? Filing, the SEC filing, right? Okay, that's the convertible security, convertible bonds or convertible preferred stock. Okay? Another type of derivative is called the warrant. Okay? Warrant is another type of option. Warrants are company-issued options. Company-issued options to purchase a specific number of shares, a specific number of shares at a set price, during a certain time period. Usually 5 to 10 years. Okay? And typically, many times, issued as a sweetener with a new debt. Okay? So company issued option. This is something I have not discussed. Okay? Previously, when I talked about call option or put option for GE, right? Who issued this option? Who sold this option? Have you thought about it? Who usually issue these options, call option, put option? Huh? The investment banker. Trying to find out. Individual investors, right? Sell this. People like me. I told you, I sold the GE put option, right? So it is traded by the stockbrokers in the market, but ultimately I think it's individual investors, right? Ultimately. I'm not sure, I'm trying to think whether investment bankers will issue. I don't think so, right? Ultimately, it's individual investors, right? So it's up to you whether you want to, if you want to sell or, if you want to sell call option or put option, it's up to you, right? But this warrants are company-issued options, right? When a company, usually, this usual typical situation is when they try to sell a new debt or issue a new bond, new debt, right? Sometimes it's hard to sell. I mean, if you really want to make it attractive to investors, you may have to offer really high interest, right? And if you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to promise too high interest, right? In that case, you can use warrants, okay? So you can attach warrants to the bonds, okay? Say, well, if you lend money, if you buy this bond, you also get this warrant, okay? And warrant is an option, right? Option to purchase a specific number of shares at a set price during a certain time period, right? So it's quite similar to convertible bond. Very similar to convertible bond. It has a strike price or exercise price, right? In convertible security, it's conversion price, right? In warrant, it's called the exercise price because you are exercising your option, okay? And during a certain period of time, it also has some expiration, right? Expiration. The conversion period is usually 5 to 10 years. Between 5-10 years, right? You can exercise this option, right? I had a friend. I am currently a what is it? Advisory board director. A board member at a company, right? It's a plastic company, Wilbert Plastics in South Carolina. But that was second company. The first company, which I started as a board director, right, was acquired by this company. Okay? And there's an interesting story. This owner. Basically, he hired me as a director, advisory board director, okay? And he started this business with only about 400,000 of his own money. Okay? So using this $400,000, he purchased a $7 million company. Okay? So he borrowed from the bank about $2 million, okay? And the rest, about $5.5 million, he raised from private investors. Okay? So he purchased the $7 million company, and about 7 years later, during which time he hired me as a board director, right? And he sold it at $20 million to the current company, right? The Wilbert Plastic. Right? The reason why he could do that was during this time he got Hyundai and Kia, right, as a customer, right? So he opened the relationship with the Hyundai and Kia and started supplying this plastic components to Hyundai and Kia. Yeah? So this second company, the Wilbert Plastic, was a much larger company, and they wanted this business, okay, Hyundai and Kia automobile business. Okay? So they paid $20 million and purchased this company. Okay? Anyway, so the story is when this final deal, $20 million deal was signed, okay? So he was going to pay off, about $6.5 million to the private investors and bank, right? So he was going to net, about $13 million pure profit, right? But there was a hitch, there was a hiccup, right? Because when he issued the original bond, he attached warrants, okay? And the warrant, the period, exercise period, has not expired yet. Okay? So when he was trying to sell the company, suddenly the bondholders, okay, they realized that, whoa, this warrant is really worth now, okay? Because there are a certain number of shares outstanding, okay? And if the company value is $20 million, right, suddenly if you divide by the number of shares, right, each share is worth quite a lot, right? So they wanted to exercise their warrant, okay? And apparently this guy was forgetting about it, okay? The warrant, so he had to go through some legal case, some lawsuit. Okay? Apparently, they signed the deal without considering this warrants, and later the warrant holders raised the issue. Okay? Anyway, so I think he pretty much lost maybe $1 or $2 million, but it was still a lot of money, okay? That in 7 years. Okay? And I was transferred to the new company. And after about 1 year, I came to Korea. Okay? Anyway, so that's Warrant. All right, so why a company would issue warrants? There's a similar case. I mean, it's pretty similar to a convertible bond. Okay? So it lowers agency costs because basically you're giving opportunity to bondholders to share profit by converting or exercising their option. Okay? And it permits the company to sell common stock at a price above the price prevailing at the time of original issue, the same thing as before. Okay? So the exercise price is usually higher than the stock price at the time of issue. Okay? And finally, when the warrants are exercised, okay, then what that means is a company has issued new shares without paying the issuance cost. Okay? Okay? The difference, is there a difference here? It comes later. Okay? Yeah, we'll talk about the difference later. All right. So how much are the warrants worth? The formula value is this. Okay? Max here means we have two items here, either 0 or this second item. Okay? Between the two items, greater 1. Right? So the formula value of warrant is greater of these two. Okay? Either 0 or this. Right? The second one, if you look at it, that's the common market price per share minus exercise price per share times number of shares obtainable with each warrant. Okay? So when the warrants are issued, it specifies a specific number, right? How many shares you can exercise. I mean, each warrant is worth how many issues, right? All right. So, well, typically in the beginning, when the warrants were newly issued, okay, this number would be negative because the exercise price is usually set above the current market price of the stock, right? But when the hopefully the market price of the share will increase, right, and it becomes positive, right, and that will give positive value to the warrant. Okay? So when this is negative, does that mean the warrant value is negative? No. Why not? According to this formula, it's either 0 or some positive number, right? Because obviously, it says max of 0 or this, right? So when this is negative, right, then the formula value of warrant is 0. Why? If the stock price is below exercise price, then this whole item is negative, right? But why doesn't it go negative? It says max of 0 or negative, which means in that case, formula value of warrant will be 0. Why? That's right, because it's an option, right? You don't have to exercise, right? So it's it's either 0 or some positive value, right? Make sure you understand that. Okay? So it's pretty similar to it's pretty similar to the previous graph, right? You have share price, the warrant value, and it goes like that, right? And let's say here, that will be exercise price. Yeah. So when the share price is below the exercise price, the option value, the warrant value will be 0. Okay? And when the stock price rises above exercise price, the warrant price rises, just like that. Okay? Same as before. Okay? So this line here is share price minus exercise price times number of shares. Okay. The yellow curve, you can say that's the value of warrants at expiration. Value of warrants at expiration. What that means is before expiration, it will be different. What do you think? Before expiration date, what will be the value of warrant? What will it look like? Yeah, just like before, right? It will be slightly above that yellow line, yellow curve, right? Again, because of the what? Flexibility, right? You can either exercise it or not, right? Just like the convertible security, right? I'm sure you can understand it easily. Okay? Warrants are often detachable. Okay? What that means is warrant holder can actually sell the warrant and keep the debt. Warrant holders can sell the warrant and keep the debt, right? So when you purchase the bond, that bond came with the warrant, right? And then you can actually just sell the warrants in the market, right? And you can still hold the bond, right? And of course, depending on the market value of the warrants, right, you will decide whether to keep it or sell it, right? All right? Okay. Let me just finish similarities. Okay, yeah. Yes, pretty quickly, I mean, very quickly. Similarities, we've seen the similarities already, right? Reduce the agency cost. It amounts to issuing stocks at higher price than the prevailing price, right? And both the convertibility option and the attachment of warrants results in interest expense. I would include the saving here, right? Result in interest expense saving or preferred dividend saving. In other words, you are saving interest payments or dividends, right? If you issue the bond, then you are saving interest payment because you can actually offer lower interest when you attach the convertibility, right? Or warrant, okay? And dividend, the same idea. If you if you are issuing preferred stock, right, then you can offer lower dividend. Okay? The difference here is when the warrants are exercised, company receives additional funds, right? Because the warrant holders are actually paying the price to buy shares, right? It only gives the option to buy at certain price, right? It's not guaranteed. I mean, you are not receiving free stocks, right? So you have to pay this specific price, exercise price, right, to purchase the new stocks, right? So the company actually receives additional funds, right? But what happens when the convertible bonds are converted? There is no additional cash, but what? They are removing the debt, right? When the bonds are converted, right, the benefit to company is suddenly the amount of debt disappears, right, from their balance sheet. Yeah. Fixed remains on the company's book after exercise of warrants. Yeah. So if the convertible, the debt is taken off the company's books, so that amount disappears. But with the warrants, even though they receive fresh amount of cash, right, the existing debt still remains on the books or balance sheet. Okay? Final difference, because of the call feature, convertible securities potentially give the company more control than warrants, right? So, you can force the conversion by calling the bond, but there is no way you can force the warrants to be exercised, right? There is no, yeah. So that's the difference. Well, we're going to finish this chapter on Thursday, and we're going to talk about the Black-Scholes option pricing on Thursday. Any question? All right, I'll see you on Thursday.